Greater Noida is undergoing a rapid economic transition. As agricultural plots are converted into high-value real estate developments, a sudden influx of capital is entering the region, wealth that often supercharges traditional patriarchal structures rather than modernizing them. On the night of May 17, 2026, the consequences of this environment reached a fatal conclusion in Jalpura village. 24-year-old Deepika Nagar, a top academic performer with an integrated BA/B.Ed degree, was pronounced dead upon arrival at a local medical facility. The official narrative provided by her husband and in-laws characterized the event as a suicide. They claimed that shortly after a visit from her father, Deepika went to the third-floor terrace and propelled herself over the ledge. Her biological family immediately contested this premise. They alleged a premeditated homicide, asserting that her death was the culmination of 17 months of dowry-motivated torture and that the fall was staged to simulate a voluntary leap. To determine the truth, investigators must look past the physical environment of the residence. Alibis can be coordinated and rooms can be cleaned, but the victim's body remains an objective record of the event. This case hinges on a specific forensic hurdle. The massive, diffuse blunt force trauma caused by a 3-story fall can mask the localized injuries from a prior physical struggle. This diagnostic challenge is complicated by the background of the accused. Deepika's husband, Bharatiya Nagar, was concurrently pursuing an LLB law degree, a detail that introduces the possibility of a perpetrator with a pre-existing awareness of how evidence and forensic procedures are utilized in court. To pierce this potential obfuscation, a panel of independent medical experts conducted a videographed post-mortem examination. They documented 141 distinct injury marks on Deepika's body. The resolution of the case now relies on forensic pathology's ability to systematically isolate ante-mortem trauma, injuries inflicted before death, from the terminal velocity trauma caused by the impact. When the external pathology data is mapped onto a human model, a specific pattern emerges on the upper extremities. Examiners recorded deep pressure wounds and localized circular abrasions on the right hand, the left elbow, and the left forearm. These specific circular groupings are clinically recognized as ante-mortem defensive signatures, or restraint marks. A body in freefall against a flat surface does not sustain localized circular pressure grips on the wrists. These require human hands applying forceful restraint during a struggle. Moving down the body, the report documents massive, deep blue contusions. One measured 38 by 14 centimeters on the right thigh, and another measured 25 by 22 centimeters, precisely above the pelvic bone. These injuries differ significantly from fall-related trauma. Their depth and localized nature point to targeted strikes from a heavy, blunt weapon, like an iron rod. The external pathology shows that Deepika was violently restrained and beaten before she was ever propelled from the terrace. While the skin shows signs of a struggle, the internal dissection identifies the physiological cause of death. Forensic examiners found her spleen completely ruptured. The spleen is highly vascular. This rupture causes massive internal hemorrhage. The internal examination revealed that the left kidney was entirely pale, and the chambers of the heart were found to be completely empty. This state is the clinical definition of profound hypovolemic shock. It indicates that the victim's circulatory system was drained of its blood volume. An empty heart chamber proves that she bled out internally from the severe beating before the high-velocity impact occurred. If the fall had been the primary cause of death, the heart would not have had time to pump itself dry. To see if the accused's behavior supports this medical data, we must map their movements starting at 12:30 a.m. on the night of the trauma. Despite reporting a massive trauma emergency, the family bypassed Hiatarth Super Specialty Hospital, a fully equipped trauma center located just 2 kilometers from their home. Instead, they transported her 20 kilometers away to Sharda Hospital, where she was declared dead. Immediately following the notification, the husband and relatives abandoned the body and fled. This geographical detour is a logistical indicator of spatial subterfuge. Extending transit time ensures the victim perishes before reaching medical professionals, precluding any legally admissible dying declaration to doctors or police. The deliberate delay in medical care provided the necessary time for co-conspirators at the residence to remediate the primary crime scene. This behavioral timeline aligns perfectly with the medical evidence of a staged cover-up. The motive for this fatal escalation is rooted in the region's dowry inflation. Despite an initial extraction of assets exceeding 1 crore rupees, the marital family escalated their demands to include a Toyota Fortuner SUV and an additional 50 lakh rupees in cash. Deepika's education was not a protective shield, it was actively commodified. Her in-laws explicitly desired her degree so she could serve as unpaid intellectual labor in their privately owned schools. This extortion was managed through the festival toll, a system where the mother-in-law and sisters-in-law demanded expensive gold and silver jewelry merely to permit Deepika to visit her parental home. In this ecosystem, modern wealth and education did not dismantle patriarchal violence. They were leveraged to optimize a corporate-style extortion ring. The investigation contrasts two competing models, a claim of a sudden leap versus a pathological reality of restraint, internal bleeding, and spatial evasion. While the husband's legal education may have informed the attempt to blur the lines between homicidal blunt force and accidental trauma, but the law provides a specific countermeasure. Under Section 82 of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita governing dowry deaths, the burden of proof is inverted. Because the death was unnatural and preceded by documented dowry-related cruelty, the law presumes the guilt of the husband and in-laws. They must now definitively prove their innocence against the medical evidence of the empty heart and the restraint marks. The Deepika Nagar case proves that while regional economic booms can modernize the mechanisms of abuse, rigorous forensic science remains the ultimate equalizer in dismantling staged alibis and securing justice.